and I'm here with Miss Janet Cotter. We're honored to be hosted here today at the Washington Street United Methodist Church in Columbia, South Carolina. So thank you, Janet, so much for being with us today and for helping to organize this beautiful day at Washington Street United Methodist.
Well, thank you. It's a privilege to have this group here.
So we're going to start with very simple questions about you personally. So, Janet, if you will, tell us a little bit about when and where you were born and raised. Tell us a little about your family and your early childhood experience.
Oh, that's wonderful. I was born in Columbia, but my home was Brunson, South Carolina, a small village in Hampton County. It gets smaller every year. But what a wonderful place to grow up. And then you wanted to know where I was educated.
Born and raised and early childhood experiences.
All my early childhood was, all my childhood until marriage was, my home was Brunson. And I went to school, elementary and high school in the same building in Brunson, and just enjoyed. I didn't realize what I had at the time, but when I got to Columbia and realized how big and wonderful Columbia is, it's a big town, I feel like I had the best of both worlds, the small town and the city. And I have loved having that background from the small town, where everybody knew everybody else, and everyone knew your names, and you got reported if you did something you weren't supposed to do, because by the time you got home, your mother knew it. And so you behaved, and the town was were our guardians too. And that's a real asset to a child, to have that support and to have those friends. And those friends are friends for life. And then I got older and entered Columbia College, where my mother had gone to school. It made her very happy. And oh, what a joy it was to be there and to meet more people. And those 4 years were just wonderful years with wonderful memories. I became involved in everything I could. If they said, now we're going to be playing volleyball today, I'd play volleyball. We're going to try out for the choir. I, who cannot sing, tried out for the choir. Whatever was going on, that's what I wanted to do, until finally I found my niche and joined, it was in student government. And I loved that and went on, and somehow later was elected president of the student body and enjoyed that and made great friends and learned a lot, because through that you got together with other student body presidents all over the state, and we became good friends through that. And some I haven't seen for years, but if you run into them, you start right back where you were 50 some odd years ago. So Columbia College really helped finish my education, and I graduated with honors, and I think that was easier then than it is now. But I love studying, and so that was my education. And you wanted me.
You were a leader at such a young age, president of the student body.
Yes. Well, I loved it, and we all went to vote we voted not with machines, but you would write the name in. So we had to wait for them to count the votes and all that. So it was exciting. And I had, my sophomore year, I was a secretary, always running for something, or always involved in something. But I loved to study. And we had teachers who asked us to reach for the stars. And we tried.
What did you study at Columbia College?
English was my major, and I had a Dr. Ariel whose name is very well known. It's been going for a long time, but he was a wonderful professor and a stickler for detail. And you wanted to study because you wanted to succeed, not only for yourself, but also for him. So I'm grateful for him. And then we had a wonderful president of our college, Dr. Wright Spears. You may or may not have heard of him. Columbia College is a Methodist college, and he had come from Florence, and was just a wonderful person to bring it out of a very low place in their history. and encouraged people to come and improved the atmosphere, the student body, and we began to build buildings. So,
What were your personal dreams, goals, and aspirations at that age and that time at Columbia College?
well, they changed. You see, I think everybody needs to find her sense of purpose. I did not know that at the time. When I was a student, I was just involved in everything. But I realize now that I hadn't found my sense of purpose. And I hope that when you would hope that when you find it, that you would have the wisdom to follow through with it. And what was my sense of purpose? Well, back then, it was to study hard, to achieve, to do well, and I thought I wanted to teach school. But that changed when Dr. Spears called me in his office one day and said, would you like to work at the college? And I said, oh, yes. I would have done anything to work there. So I was put in charge of student recruitment. And that was great because you traveled, and there again, you got to meet people your age who were from other colleges. South Carolina has a great affinity for each college attracting the other, and they share information. I think it's a wonderful brotherhood, sisterhood that the colleges have among each other. And I found that out when we were traveling, recruiting students. And then when we got through recruiting students, that's done in the fall of the year. Then the spring of the year came and they asked me to help with the Alumni Association. Well, that was wonderful. Well, here we go to teas and parties and all this. But one thing was missing. It was a girls' school, and there were no men on campus. Well, that was important. But there was somebody very special at Clemson, and there was somebody at Carolina. But I hadn't met number one yet. I met number one on a blind date, which I did not want to do. I did not think a blind date would be very good. And my friend who wanted me to go on this blind date said, oh, please go. Please go. We need to find someone. And I said, only if we go to a walk-in movie. People may not be familiar with drive-in movies, but we had them then. And I said, I'll go on one condition, that we go to a walk-in movie. Well, we did not. And I got a little upset about that until I realized we were going to my date's home, and his parents weren't there. And I thought, oh my goodness, I don't know what will be said in Bronson. Well, it was all, his parents came in, and we began to play bridge. That was not my sense of purpose, playing bridge, but anyway, I was having a good time. Well, it wasn't long before we became engaged, and less than a year later we were married. And then I found my sense of purpose. My purpose was to be as good a wife as I could. And then when the children came along, you need to use all your mothering skills. And then I began to wonder, how is Shakespeare going to help me? That's what I'd majored in English. How is Shakespeare going to help me? Shakespeare did. There were quotes and there were things you could use when you went to PTA meetings, and all of a sudden I realized, I know what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to be a good mother and a good wife, and make my life as happy and interesting for myself and my family as I could. So that's what I think we did. And I've had a wonderful life. And just meeting you people. Every time you go somewhere, you meet new people. That enriches your life. And I've enjoyed every minute of this. And being on this committee to find the state mother of the year, the committee became close to each other. They are some of my very best friends. And then these mothers really were so outstanding. And we were so glad that we had chosen these people. And it involved our state, and that was good. And then as the children got older, I was asked to serve on committees, and Brook Green Gardens. I was on the Friends of Brook Green Gardens, and on the board of trustees at Columbia College. And I've been very interested in this church in Washington Street. When my husband was born, the day he was born, his father walked from the Columbia Hospital over to Washington Street and enrolled him. And he was enrolled the day he was born. He was enrolled in this church. So you see, I have to stay active in this church. I have business to do here. But it's just been a great life. And my children, I have 2 children.
Tell me about your children.
A son, Leslie Arlen Cotter, Jr., and a daughter, Janelle Alexander Cotter. They're both married, and I have 5 grandchildren. Now, you know how a grandmother dopes on those. But my son is an attorney here, and my daughter teaches school, and first grade. So she's really loves it, and you will meet her later. But they seem to be very happy, and the grandchildren seem to be all right. So we've got 1 grandchild married, and the rest of them.
Oh, you must be so proud.
I am, as every grandmother is. Yeah.
So let me ask you this, what does motherhood mean to you?
Motherhood means a lot. Motherhood means giving up whatever you have to make your children's life meaningful and happy and whole. Motherhood is, when you enter motherhood, you have to enter it wholeheartedly. It takes all your heart. As anybody knows, it's not an easy task, but it's a fulfilling task. And in the end, you hope for the best. And you pray, and you spend a lot of time on your knees asking for help. Prayer goes a long way with being a mother. And when you see it answered, it's just a wonderful sense of success when you do that. My children seem to be carrying on with those. I hope they walk in faith. That's the only way you can go, is to walk in faith, because sometimes you don't know what's going to happen. But faith gets you a long way, and also friends and family. Everybody needs a support group, and I hope I can always be part of a support group for other people, because that's what we need going through life.
Speaking of support groups, you've been a part of many in your life. Tell us a little bit about how you became a member of the South Carolina Mother of the Year Association.
That was so exciting. I had a friend, Retta Gant, who was a member of the committee and had been, and I had been hearing about the state mother for a long time. And then I got a letter asking me to be a member, and I wish I could remember what year it was. I cannot remember what year it was. I know who was on the committee when I first went, but I didn't know. I can't tell you the year, but it's a long time. And I'm so glad that I stayed on. When you join, they don't give you a term. Most boards and most committees have terms, 2 years, 4 years, but not this committee. And I'm glad. It was for life if you wanted it. So for me, it's life. Even though don't have the same function, we still have a purpose.
That's beautiful. Talk a little bit about how your membership on the committee impacted you, your family, and your community.
Well, how it impacted me, it gave me friends, and it gave me a sense of, I'm trying to think, I felt that I was doing something not only for the mother who was chosen, but for the state, choosing an example for other mothers and for other people. And I love the fact that we tried to get mothers from different sections of the state so that the state was represented. I think that it gave the mother who had done so much, the one who was chosen, a sense of what she had done for herself, for her children, for her family, and for her state. Her children were so successful, and they were always bright stars. And then what it's done for the community. Everybody in Columbia sort of knows about the Mother of the Year, and how important it is that she be an outstanding person. And then for my family, I think they're so glad that I was a part of it, and they like to hear what we were doing and the person we'd chosen. I can't explain what joy it was to be on this committee. What joy, and we hope we brought joy to the state and to the community and to that family. I hope I've done a good job telling you about
I
that.
know that you have, and this project, we're so glad you're participating. It just continues to share that joy
And-
with students
and you it went
community
through-
members to learn about the Mothers of the Year and the committee.
And when we heard that this was available, and it could be done, it could be housed at Winthrop, and it could be accessed through the South Caroliniana, through any college archives, it was just glorious to know that all these years of work would still live on,
Absolutely.
and it would be in the archives at Winthrop.
Absolutely. I'm going to ask you a few questions now that are maybe broader questions than just about you and the committee. Let me ask you this. What do you think are the most important issues facing women today?
Whew, facing women. Well, we've come a long way, baby, but but we've still got to hold our ground. The issues facing women today, I read now. I only worked for 2 years with pay, but I realize that women sometimes have a hard time getting the same paycheck that men might get. They have to work harder to be accepted. They have to look better groomed. They can't just go. I've noticed that they're buying, if you go in a store, you'll see the business section. There's one store here in Columbia, and there are all these suits lined up, and I know they don't want to wear those navy blue and brown suits all the time, but they need to look and act, and I think women are smarter now. I think they've learned, and their background is a help. The issues are not as large, but we still have issues to overcome. But look how many CEOs are women. I'm so excited when I read that this woman or that woman is chairman. And here at home, we've had the most wonderful chairman of the Board of Trustees at Columbia College. She did an outstanding job. We'd had others before. The first one was from King Street, and she was Miss Epps from King Street. She and Willie Gray were the first. Willie Gray was a pioneer in women's education. They were the first members of the Board of Trustees. They became outstanding women in government. I want to tell you a little bit about Willie Gray, who was really she worked so hard to educate people who could not get education. She had a school, the school for the people who were undereducated here in Columbia, and she was always going up to the Capitol to ask for help. And one state representative said, "Oh, Willie Gray is on the agenda today. She's like chewing gum in my hair." But Willie didn't care. Willie became the chewing gum, and she got everything she wanted. She got grants, she got money, she got land to build a school, and it's called the Opportunity School, and it still survives. And she was just a wonderful person. She was a pioneer, and I think women have, one generation builds from the other generation. What we can do today, the next generation and the next will use. So we're like a stepping stone for them. I hope we can help.
It's such a great story and such a model for other women.
Well, I wish you could have interviewed her. She was a delight. But she has long been gone, been dead.
Do you think women's work and women's roles as mothers are adequately recognized by society today?
It depends on to whom you're talking. Most people think they are. Women have to work harder to be a mother if they work. If she works, she has to find help, and good help, a place for the child to stay. Then you've got after school. But I think they're adequately recognized. If they don't, you see, they can't go to meetings and committee meetings like we could when we weren't working. But they make it happen if they can.
You were always very active in your community, it sounds like. So how were you able to balance that work outside the home, in the community, and being a good mother and work inside the family and work inside the home? How were you able to balance that?
I was blessed. My mother-in-law and father-in-law lived 1 block away. And they were always there. Grandparents are always available, or nearly always available, to help with the children. They encouraged me, and they helped keep the children. And they were just 1 block away. I had a next-door neighbor also who had 4 teenagers, and they were delighted to help me with the children. That helped. That was why I don't know what I would have done had I not had that wonderful support and help. I could not have done the things I did.
Why don't you talk a little bit more? You mentioned some earlier, some of the activities that you were engaged in before and after marriage, and particularly with your kids, and how you were able to balance those activities.
Well, before I was married, I graduated from Columbia College, and then the next year, 1 year later, I was married. So I didn't have many committees to attend. However, I did join the alumni club that was here. And then the church. The church is smart. They get the young people early and get them on committees, and they find the time that suits them. We had a wonderful organization here called the 2030 Club in this church, and you had to be in your 20s or your 30s to belong. And we became good friends, and we met twice a month, sometimes once a month, and had dinner, and had one of the older members come and join us and speak about what we look forward to, and what might happen, and how you might cope with things. And we became good friends. And now some of those people are my age, and they're still in this church, some of them, and we're still dear friends. Wasn't that great? That was a good idea to have those ages.
And I think you've really already touched upon this, the fact that women today who are working outside the home for pay and working inside the home, women of today seem to have more to balance. So do you think it's more difficult, or how do women today, do you think, struggle with balancing work in the home and work outside the home and volunteerism?
They do. They cannot volunteer as much as you could if you had help. However, with the internet and cell phones and texting and the cloud, you could do all sorts of things without having. I've just been on a committee where we never met all together, but we did it by texting and email, and we accomplished what we set out to do. So I think it's awfully hard for a mother today to balance both, especially if there's more than one child. But she can pick and choose carefully, and choose what interests her, and what she might use later in life, and how she can really contribute to that. I don't see being on a committee unless you can contribute something to it. I've heard of people who join just for the sake of joining and never attend. But I think if you give your name to a committee, you should really work it. And that's a hard decision, but they can do it if they want to, and if they have a good husband behind them. That's a big help.
That's very true.
It's very important.
I love how you pointed out technology can help, and a good husband, a good partner to be
Right.
there to truly help.
Right.
What does feminism mean to you?
Well, it means a lot of things. When you think about feminism, you think about women who used to wear frills, like I have on, frills, and were pretty and sweet and kind. But it's more than that. It goes deeper than that. Feminism is a whole section of life, of people. And we're all in it together. And I think we have to work together to foster the good of feminism. It's not a bad word. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. And to be a feminist, you must be proud to be a feminist. Women have, look at the suffragettes. They marched down Main Street and they got sent home from Columbia College because they did. But they marched down Main Street to vote in 1922, I think. But they showed us the way, and we don't have to be raspy and ugly and shoving people around. We can be feminine, and we can be kind and loving and strong.
That's beautiful, and such an important message for young people today,
Yes.
the way you spoke about that, and reminding us of our history, and then reminding us of how we can continue on that legacy with dignity.
They can.
With respect.
And dignity is with dignity and grace, they just, and I think they've figured it out. I think, I'm looking now at a senior, and she's figured out how she can fit in and be a feminist and be a lady at the same time.
Do you consider yourself a feminist?
Well, I guess I am, because I love what women are doing now. They're helping the world. I mean, we've got all women in all walks of life who are doing great things. They also have an empathy for what they're doing, and I think that's in our favor. I don't know whether I'm a feminist or not. If you say, am I going out there and move and try to shake the world up and do things that I'm not for, then I'm not. But I think so far, women are doing a great job.
And based on your own definition of feminism, you probably would be.
Well,
Sounds like.
I would hope.
Do you have any questions for us, or anything else you'd like to share?
Oh, I just want to thank you for doing this, for making our history possible to anyone who wants to hear it, but also preserving the year that each mother represented her state of South Carolina. I think that is so important. And through them, we can see how feminism has grown, how our committee grew, and what we have to offer our state and our world. But thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Janet. We really appreciate your time.
I'm sure I haven't done what I should
Lovely
have.
interview. It was beautiful.
Oh, well,
I should have asked you, all have anything you want to add or throw in?
Yes.
Questions, comments?
yeah.
I wish that Janet was younger so she could run for president.
She is so presidential. That's the exact word.
We're
You're
so-
right. You are.
So what?
Presidential.
Oh my God.
And all the positions you've held. And
Oh,
from student government president
Oh.
to board of trustees
Oh.
of your college.
oh
and-
me. Well, and the Brook Green thing was so good. And then I'm friends at the library. Oh, our library has come a long way. I can't do it anymore because I can't give it what it needs. You have to give it what it needs to be Lincoln. But anyway, I've gotten older.
Haven't we all?
But I think about you and all you've got to look forward to. In thinking about what I said earlier, I wanted to add a P.S. I'm sure my thoughts were on my children and grandchildren, but I wanted to emphasize how important they are to me and in my life, and I wanted to name them. My son is Leslie Arlen Cotter Jr., and we call him Les, and he is an attorney here in Columbia, and his wife is Elizabeth Webster Cotter, and she is a wonderful housewife. My daughter is Janelle. We call her Jan Cotter Jenkins, and she teaches first grade here in Columbia. So I'm lucky, I'm blessed. I have my children and my grandchildren here in Columbia. Now to get to my grandchildren, I have 5. Oldest one is Caroline Reeves Cotter. She graduated from Wofford, and she is now in the executive branch of MUSC in Charleston, South Carolina. My second granddaughter is Elizabeth Alexander Cotter Thompson. She's married to Will Thompson, and they live in Atlanta. He is a stockbroker, and she teaches school. She's currently working on her master's degree. My third grandchild is Janet Cotter Jenkins, and she is a senior at Columbia College. The fourth one is Leslie Arlen Cotter Jr., and he graduated from the College of Charleston this year in May, and he's working for the Ports Authority in Charleston. And then our last one is Forrest Norton Jenkins, and he is a rising junior at PC. And that's the end of my story about my family. But they're the most important things, as most people will agree. Family is everything.
You must be so proud, Janet,
I am.
of all that your children and grandchildren have accomplished.
I am.
We have another PS we would like to add to your interview. You have been so active at Columbia College, and we spoke about your activities on our last interview. But we have subsequently found out that Columbia College and the students have come up with a wonderful way to honor you and your legacy at Columbia College by naming a building after you. Can you please tell us about that, Janet?
Well, I sort of pinch myself every time I hear it. I can't believe it. It was such an honor to get it, and so humbling. I could hardly believe it. It's a building that was the library when I was in college, and it was also there when my mother was at Columbia College. It subsequently was named Alumni Hall, and it's the alumni headquarters, and it's the oldest building on campus. And in the spring, they will put my name above Alumni Hall. And I cannot tell you how moved and humbled and honored I am. And I can think of 100 names that could go up there with mine. And I just can never tell how grateful I am for that.
Janet Cotter, Alumni Hall.
Janet Alexander Cotter, Alumni Hall.
Beautiful. And you told us they surprised you.
They did.
Tell us the story
I
about
had
how
no
you were
idea.
surprised.
And I was invited to come to dinner with a dear friend of mine, Janice McNair, and her husband, Bob McNair, who've been loyal and good and generous to Columbia College. And because they were coming for dinner, and it was graduation, and her friend was going to be the speaker, I thought, well, I have to go. So they seated me by Janice, and next to us there was an empty table. And the president of the college, Columbia College, Beth Dindal, said, you may notice that there's an empty table here. And I thought, oh good, the McNair scholars will come and entertain us. Well, the door opened. She said, we have some very special guests. And in walked my family. My children and grandchildren, my sister, Libby Alexander Murdoch, and her husband, Randolph, my brother, Don Alexander, and his wife, Lisa, and my niece, Lynn Murdoch Godey, and her husband, Alan. And I thought, what are they doing here? And all of a sudden, they said, we have an honor, we have a gift, a surprise. Oh, what a surprise. And they took the cloth off of the picture of the building, and it had my name on it, as it will appear. Well, I thought, I don't think I'm dreaming, I'm asleep. But it was true. And I am so grateful and exhilarated by it. And every time I think of it, I think, oh, what a wonderful thing for me. And I don't think I deserve that much. But Janice and Bob were the major contributors for that. And what a lovely thing for a friend to do. Oh, I'm
Well,
overwhelmed.
What an honor to you and your amazing legacy at Columbia College.
Well, it's a great college, and we've had a lot of family to go there. My sister, my granddaughter's there now, my mother, my aunts, cousins, a lot of people have been there. But I'm just grateful that I went there and made so many friends.
Well, we are so grateful to be counted as part of your friends through the South Carolina Mothers Association and Selection Committee. And you have just been an amazing leader in this journey for us to interview Mothers of the Year and Selection Committee members at this beautiful church, Woodland United Methodist Church.
It's Washington Street United
Washington Street
Methodist,
United Methodist
and it was
Church.
founded in 1803. And we like to say we're the oldest church that was founded, but there's First Presbyterian across the street claims that also. So the University of South Carolina was founded in 1801, and we're 1803. We had to have a church for the students. But I do want to thank Winthrop for having the archives and for housing our material, because it's been a long time coming, and we need a good, safe place for it. And my gratitude to Winthrop for doing this.
Thank you so much. Thank you to
And thank
Washington
you.
Street United Methodist Church, and it's been an honor to work with you throughout this project.
Well, it's been a great honor for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet.